What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. The Last of Us 2 has finally released, and for me personally, I couldn't be more excited about this title. The game came out, the original one, like 7 years ago, and I played it a little bit when it first launched, but then life distracted me and I couldn't get back to it until this year. I played it and was just completely blown away by how fantastic the storytelling was, and the gameplay there to match it was so fantastic. One of my favorite games I've ever played in my entire life. So yeah, for me personally, I am extremely excited to get around to playing The Last of Us 2. It would be sitting right here, but unfortunately at time of recording, it's sitting in a UPS truck waiting to get delivered here, and I can't wait to get to it. The game itself got pretty good reviews on Metacritic so far by official reviewing outlets. We're talking 95%, like 9.5 out of 10, 95 out of 100, however you want to define their numbers over at Metacritic. Suffice it to say, it is doing very well as far as the real critics' thoughts on this game. Then it released, and the user scores entered the picture. And holy crap, we need to talk about the severe review bombing it's getting. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe and the bell notification to make sure you do not miss any of the latest uploads from Smash JT. And with that out of the way, let's talk about this Metacritic review bombing right now. A lot of people are pissed off at Naughty Dog and at Sony and are venting their frustrations using Metacritic. I'm not going to go through the actual reviews of what these 0 out of 10s are because a lot of them are going into spoiler territory, and I am not going to be discussing spoilers per se in this episode. Currently sitting at a 3.3 user review score on Metacritic out of 12,150 reviews. It's suffice to say it's getting review bombed, and review bombed hard. Many 0 out of 10s with people complaining about many different aspects of this game. I've had a few people hit me up saying, why is this happening? I've had people tell me why they think it's happening, and ultimately it's coming down to a multitude of reasons. It's not just one thing, and I think that's why it's getting hit so hard. We're going to go through these, and like I said, I'm not going to discuss spoilers, but it is going to be some light content and story diving into. So first off, this one is a story that dives into the LGBT community and kind of takes a few turns that we'll just say people aren't ready for this day and age, and they don't want that in their games, at least the people that are downvoting and hating on this. That is a particular segment of gamers that just don't want a company like Naughty Dog injecting whatever values they might be saying or whatever they disapprove of in a video game, and this is their way of speaking out against that. And the second reason kind of goes hand in hand with the first reason. The twists and turns that the story takes, people did not like that, and the leaks ahead of time, it really frustrated a lot of people. Now, I did a pretty good job ignoring the major plot points of this that did leak early, but suffice it to say, people are not happy with what Naughty Dog ended up doing with the story, dealing with the characters that they've created and the world that they've made. Again, this is Naughty Dog's game, and they are able and allowed to do whatever the hell they want with it. And gamers don't like a development studio taking it in a artistic direction that they decide. Ultimately, that is where a lot of frustration is coming in on these review bombs. And three, most likely, this is probably lesser of the points, but people have gotten the game and genuinely didn't like their experience. But this video is being recorded the day of release, unless you're in Australia. I guess it released late last night there. But regardless, the game is too long to have beaten unless you got it right at midnight and haven't stopped playing it up until this point right now. So all those reviews that have come in are people that no way, no how could not have possibly gotten through the entire game on their own to make up their actual mind themselves. So they're taking information information from YouTubers that have just hate on this game from getting early review copies and they're just being sheep following them, not making up their own mind, or they're just upset at how the game mechanics work with the limited amount of time they've played it so far. Still though, I don't think this game, now I haven't played it yet, but I also don't think a AAA title that's been 7 years in the making deserves a 0 out of 10. I'm gonna assume the play mechanics are good enough to get above a 0. So that's why I take it with a grain of salt when I see a 0 out of 10 rating. Over and over again, it's just people blindly following other people. When they see a reason someone hates something and they just jump on that hate wagon and do the same thing because that's the trendy thing for them to do. And the fourth reason, and this might be the final reason, I feel like there might be other reasons as well, and I've tried to cover them all, but the fourth reason that comes to mind seeing a review bomb like this is just jealous gamers that don't have the PlayStation 4. They might be Xbox gamers or Switch gamers, and they want to be able to play it, and because they aren't able to, they just jump in on the hate parade and say, yeah, it sucks, Sony sucks with this exclusive, 0 out of 10, and it's just a console war, and they're just hating on it because they can't play it. Again, that's probably the minority of cases for where the hate is coming from. Most of the hate is stemming from the reason number 1 and reason number 2, which kind of go hand in hand with each other, but there are other reasons as well. Now, I can't say that this whole parade of review bombing on Metacritic for The Last of Us 2 is an organized event, but it sure as hell seems like it. The only reason I say I can't say that is because I don't have definitive proof of it, so I hate to just allude to that. But typically when situations like this happen, it's because of some random 4chan thread or something on Reddit where everyone just gets together and plans something. I'm just saying, based off the amount of hate that's come in so quickly, this does strike me as an organized event. But when it's compared to a similar game like The Last of Us Remastered on the PlayStation 4, that's got a user score of 9.1 out of 9,255 ratings. So it wasn't review bombed, it has less reviews than a game that's come out 7 years later on the first day of release. So clearly, this is being review bombed, most likely an organized event that just is really hard to prove where it's coming from currently. Do I think that everybody should agree on a score and that it should get higher scores because everyone no, I'm not saying that. Like, I feel like every time I say something on YouTube, people look way too deeply into it to try to find any cracks and holes in what I say. I don't think this game definitely deserves to be praised by everyone. It should be a 10 out of 10. Like I said, I haven't even played it yet. My point being, you can't give a game a score until you've played the game, and it's impossible for that many people to have played the game far enough to beat the game in order to be able to give a well-rounded score like 0 out of 10. Come on now, let's be real. Let's be real about this. Let's not try to hate on the messenger trying to bring this information to you. Let's look at the gamers and put the blame on the people in the community that are just looking for reasons to hate. There's so many spiteful gamers out there. There really are, and this is proof positive of that. People don't want to be happy. They don't want a good game experience. They just want to be angry and stuff and find a way to take it out on a game company instead of playing the games that they want to and ignoring the games they don't want to. They feel like they need to inject themselves and make their voice heard and be mad about life because it's their only way to be heard by anybody. And it's really sad. Ultimately, I feel like Metacritic needs to take a look at their system and stop just allowing anybody to review a game for any reason. They need to put some sort of parameters in place to limit it to people that can verify that they've played the game. Like, maybe set something up with Sony and Xbox and Nintendo directly where they can find a way to share the linked account and see that the game is owned by them by signing in and have that as a verification system or something along those lines, just so people can't review bomb a game because they're mad at the developers, they're mad at the storyline, they're mad at some random reason that has nothing to do with the gameplay itself. It's mind-boggling to me that gamers feel so entitled, so angry that they have to get mad at the developers of these games that they don't even play just to see a score get destroyed because they don't like the decisions that they've made and the storyline. Like, don't play the game if it's not your cup of tea, but why hate on the game if you're not going to play it, or if you haven't played it, or if it has nothing to do with what you look for in a video game? Like, I don't understand that. I feel like there are so many games out there right now. It is like I've said millions of times before, it is the golden age of gaming. People can play whatever they want on basically any electronic device that exists. You can go and play it, yet people will find reasons to get mad at specific companies for reasons, like I said, that have very little or nothing to do with the actual game itself, and review bomb the game, which goes to a much deeper issue in all of this, where should we allow people to review bomb a game because they're mad at the corporate decisions that the company making the game makes? I don't feel like they should. I feel like they're wholly separate. The game is very separate than the company that's making it. Get mad at the company all you want, but taking it out on the game with the review score completely ruins the whole point of what the review of the game actually is. If we're just gonna review it on its own merits, then you need to ignore what the company stands for. Even though in this case, I don't really feel like that's part of the biggest reason. Some people might be mad at Naughty Dog because they were copyright striking channels and getting mad at people that were sharing spoilers before the game came out. That might be a reason as well, but my point being in all of this is, let's just get back to the basics. Let's enjoy the games that we play and ignore the games that we don't want to play, and just keep it as simple as that. And Metacritic needs to do something to kickstart that, to ignore the haters and just focus on, is the game actually good or not, instead of just getting all these negative reviews just to bomb it, just so people can laugh and high-five with each other about how they've ruined the score of a game that developers have put years of their life into making, and it just gets trashed to hell because people just feel like raining on the parade. Now, I know, I say that all, but ultimately, people in the know take user scores with a grain of salt anyways, so ultimately it's meaningless. But still, at this point in time, I feel like we need to hold ourselves in a higher standard as gamers, and clearly that's asking too much. Anyways, I'm going to leave the video right there. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.